here we go with talking a little bit about the judicial branch of government. If you guys didn't already know, the judicial branch, all the powers of the judicial branch of government are laid out in the third article of our Constitution. If you've looked at the Constitution, Article 3 is extremely short. No doubt the direct result of the Founding Fathers really thinking the judicial branch was going to be the least important of the three branches of government. It's pretty obvious. They've actually said as much, but it's pretty easy to infer with the actual length of Article 3 that details the judicial branch. Truth be told, really all they lay out in Article 3 is the Supreme Court. And then if you go back to last week when we talked about the legislative branch, they give Congress the power to create additional courts under the Supreme Court as they see the need, create additional positions for judges as they see the need. So the judicial branch, not as much original structure in the Constitution as the other branches. Our legal system has four basic principles. Quite simple: equal justice for all. Remember, we talked a lot about the Equal Protection Clause in the 14th Amendment. This is the same basic principle: equal justice. Everybody's protected equally under the law. Everybody has that equal justice. Laws are applied the same to everybody, no matter what you are or who you are. Due process of law. Everybody is entitled to going through the steps. So nobody's going to get thrown in prison just for getting accused of a crime. It has to be proven in a court of law. There has to be multiple people and multiple processes that weigh in before you can actually get punished for doing something. So we have to have that due process. That is part of the plan in the judicial system. Everybody has a presumption of innocence. So when you go to court, they have to prove that you have committed a crime, not the other way around. You are not presumed guilty, and then you have to prove your innocence. You are innocent until proven guilty. Now that means, and there is some criticism by people of our judicial system, because that does mean that there are people that probably have committed crimes. It's just we cannot prove that. And we've probably all known or been in a situation in life where that's been the case, where I know somebody's done something to me. I can't prove it. You got the feeling, you have the people telling you, but you really have no absolute proof. Same thing with courts. If you can't prove it, then a person didn't, you can't consider that person guilty. The last of the four basic principles is something called the adversary system. And this is, a lot of people are very critical of the judicial branch because of the adversary system. And what this really means is that lawyers are trying to advocate for their client. They're trying to win, in essence, which means sometimes the facts, sometimes the truth gets swept under the rug because you're going for the win. If I'm a defense lawyer and I know my client is guilty, it is my job to advocate for my client. That means if I can prove that, if I can get him out of a crime, then that's my job to do that. So that's part of the adversary system. I'm trying to win, even though deep down, he might have admitted to me, I sure did burn down that house, but it's my job to advocate for my client. So I can, if I don't feel that's in all good conscience, I can't do that. I can resign myself, I can withdraw myself from the case, but I can't go before the court and say my client's guilty. I can't do that. That's something that you don't do. Oops. In our judicial system, you have to have a standing to sue. So let's just say a lot of people say, I'm going to sue over this law, or I'm going to sue over this situation. If it did not affect you, you have no standing to sue. Again, a lot of people are critical of our system because of this. If a law is passed saying that all people under 6 foot tall can't graduate from high school, if I'm under 6 foot tall, if my high school goes ahead and graduates me, then I don't have any standing to sue. I know that law is BS. I can't, there's no way that it's legal, that's constitutional. I haven't been wrong, so I can't sue. Now, if you are under 6 feet tall, you've committed all the other, you've completed all the other requirements for graduation. They don't do it, and they don't graduate you. Then you do have a standing to sue. You could be part of something. In our legal system, there are, and this is kind of a bigger thing, class action suits. A lot of times you'll see advertisements on TV for a class action suit. Like, have you taken this drug for your arthritis? It's causing people to lose their hearing or something. If you have, you can be part of a class action suit. A couple years back, I was part of a class action suit through Visa. I really have no idea what they did to me, but for some reason my name got included, and they sent me a check for like $9 in the mail. So whatever they did, it was $9 wrong, and I had Subway that night. So it's good stuff. So if you have like a, yeah, those are class action suits. Last thing is political questions. Courts do not like to answer political questions. Supreme Court especially does not like to answer political questions. What that really means is something that the something that the legislative branch and the executive branch could solve amongst themselves. The judicial branch does not want to get involved. There was one very noticeable exception. In 2000, the George Bush and Al Gore presidential election. Well, eventually that ended up in court. And eventually ended up in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court basically said to stop the recounts. They've already done them like three times, I believe. And they said it's over. Whoever is the last winner in that state is going to win the election, and that was George Bush. That clearly was a political question. That should, the question of an election that should have been solved by another government agent, another government entity, and the courts got involved. They do not like to do that normally. This was a kind of a rare exception. So, okay, this is kind of the first in a number of our videos on the judicial branch. We are going to come back with more a little bit later. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and I will see you guys around.